And to me, a true warrior is a combat leader who knows how to maximize his combat power and ability to maneuver to defeat an enemy. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm fascinated by warrior cultures because they just don't exist anymore. For example, the Spartans. Think about it. They're raised from a child to grow up and fight. That's the only thing that they're raised to do. And they were the best at it. The one thing that sticks in my mind is when a Spartan mom tells her son or her husband who goes off to battle, come back with your shield or honor. But today we're going to talk about a different person. My favorite warrior of all time is Gustavus Adolphus. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he did something that a true warrior has to do. He revolutionized the battlefield. He changed it in a way that still impacts us today. The weapon of the warrior is his mind. That's what Gustavus Adolphus did. You see, there's a man behind me. Gustavus Adolphus used his mind and his tactics to mobilize artillery in a way that still affects us today. We have 105 howitzers, 155 howitzers, self-propelled paladins. And now we've already incorporated this into the three-dimensional battlefield with the AC-130 Spectre gunship that supports special operations. I used to run around myself with glint tape on top of my head, being supported by the AC-130 gunship, and that came straight from what he actually revolutionized the battlefield by changing tactics in a time where wars were a zero-sum game. You either won or you lost in a devastating manner. He actually took his formations that used to be more box-shaped in that time and made them more maneuverable. He spread them out so he could maximize his combat power. One thing I learned as a young lieutenant, doesn't matter what you do, is General Olson now, at the time he was my mentor at Fort Benning, he was Colonel Olson. He told me, he said, Tyson, it's a couple things that you have to do in battle to be successful. And it doesn't matter what level you're fighting at, whether it's tactics, a tactical level, whether it's strategic level, you have to fix and maneuver. And that was a problem back then. They could fix, but they couldn't maneuver. So, Gustavus Adolphus in the 17th century, especially, it was highlighted in the Battle of Brightonfield, where he spread his units out in a linear fashion, mobilized his artillery like I mentioned before, and was able to fix the enemy and maneuver on the enemy. It was a crushing defeat for Tilly, the German leader. Tilly suffered over 60% casualties. Gustavus Adolphus, at the end of the war, was able to take Tilly's prisoners, his men as prisoners, to have a greater army than he had when he started. And he did that because he was able to maneuver and maximize his combat power. And that's what innovative thinkers think. Here's what I want viewers to get out of watching warriors. I want them to get excited about warriors. I want them to get excited about learning who the next leader is going to be that we discuss. It's some pretty interesting stuff. Now, I'll tell you one thing people heard of. They heard of Napoleon Bonaparte. You know where he got his tactics? Adolphus. It's an important learning point for today. I want people to get as excited about this show as they got on the Animal Planet with the crocodile hunter. He brought a new energy to something that people just saw as run-of-the-mill. Well, that's what we're going to do with warriors, because this is interesting stuff that people need to know about it. And you know what? I'm the guy to bring it to them. I would be a great host of warriors because, for one, I've been there. I have the experience. I understand what I'm talking about. Just to name a few things. I graduated from West Point. Prior to that, I was an Eagle Scout. But after West Point, I was able to go be a small unit leader in the 82nd Airborne Division. I'm a Ranger qualified, senior rated jump master, where I was a platoon leader of a light infantry platoon. Then I moved right up to being executive officer in a light infantry company. Following that, I was an assistant S3, and I worked directly for Mike Steele, who was a major at the time. He got promoted to lieutenant colonel. I think he's a full bird colonel now, but you probably know him as the Ranger commander in Black Hawk Down. Yeah, that's right. That's who I worked for. Also, when I moved on, I became an intelligence officer, where I was able to formulate doctrinal and situational templates, anticipating what the enemy's going to do. So my battalion commander would trust me enough to maneuver his 750-man battalion on an enemy based on what I said. I did that in 2 different battalions. And I'll tell you what, I got the evaluations to prove that I did a good job. Also, I was able to be an infantry company commander. I took a broken company along with my soldiers and leaders, junior leaders, completely turned it around to one of the best companies in the division in the 25th. And I was also able to be the division collection manager in intelligence for the 25th Infantry Division. I was able to take planning and from space all the way down to the ground and provide target folders for the long-range surveillance detachment. So I'll tell you. Oh, and one more thing. I've also been a warrior. It's one thing to talk about the military stuff that I did, but at West Point, I was a rifle bayonet champion in Pugil 6. While I was a soldier and a company commander in Hawaii, I was a 3-time state champion boxer. I'll tell you what, once they ring that bell, there's nowhere to run, so you better be a warrior. So I say all that to say this. I've walked the walk. Now just give me a chance to talk the talk, so I can bring what you're trying to portray here into the living rooms of America and show them how important it is to be a warrior. I've enjoyed spending time with you today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Until the next time, on the next battlefield, feet and knees together, keep your powder dry. I'll see you on the next episode of Warriors.